Welcome to this episode of Ask the Guitar Coach, the only podcast where you get answers to all your guitar-related questions. If you're interested in developing your guitar skills and reaching your music goals, please send me an email at the email address ioannis@ioannis.org. That is IOANNIS at IOANNIS.org, so that I can let you know about all the different packages of elite guitar coaching and how you can get private coaching by me. Without further ado, let's go to our question for the day. I'm too tired from work to practice seriously. What can I do? Well, this is a really good question, and let me start by saying this makes perfect sense on several levels. If you're working for 8 or 9 hours a day and then you have also a fair amount of distance to drive back and forth, so there is also a commute for you, as is mostly the case for most people. Even you don't have either the time nor the willpower to sit down and practice your guitar seriously. So what can you do about it? Let's see. So in my coaching practice, I have several young professionals, people that fall into this category. They're fairly young, they work many hours, but they also want to develop their guitar playing. And here's the first part that you need to get straight. Do you want? Is this a priority for you to become a good guitar player, to continue developing? Or is it something that you used to play guitar and you're like, okay, maybe if I get better it's good, if I don't, it's still okay, it's all good, I don't really care. If you want to get better, there are ways. I'll give you a full list of them, but you have to sit down and talk it over with yourself and figure out if you are willing to put the sacrifices there. So the first thing you should do is you should make a specific practice plan. So make a plan that say, okay, I'm going to be practicing 90 minutes per day. I would not suggest for someone who wants to get better to practice less than 90 minutes per day. It's very difficult to break new ground and become better with less playing than that, less hours of playing. And that would also be the case if you have a guitar coach. If you don't have a guitar coach, you need way more time than that. But even with a guitar coach, I would not go below 90 minutes per day. Now, the next thing to do is to divide this into 2 or 3 separate sessions. So if we divide this in 3 sessions, it would be 30 minutes for each one of the 3 sessions. So now you have 3 different sessions to practice. Now, the first part to do, the easy one, is you go to bed 30 minutes earlier so that you can practice the last 30 minutes. So if you usually go to bed at 11, you should be going to bed at 11:30, so you get like 30 minutes of practice between 11 and 11:30. Your second practice spot is going to be the hardest one, because in this case you have to wake up half an hour early to practice, which is much more difficult for most people. I know it was most difficult for me sometimes when I had to do it during my life. So if you're supposed to be waking up at 7, now you're going to be waking up at 6:30 in order to practice. The next way to become more consistent with this practicing is to connect these slots with specific activities that you do every day. So for example, dinner. You will practice before eating dinner. So you come back from work, let's say at 6, dinner is going to be at 7, you practice for half an hour and then you have dinner. So the dinner will be like a reward for your practicing. The same way that at the night, like late night, before you go to bed, going to sleep is going to be the reward for your second practicing. And then again in the morning you practice before having breakfast. So basically you create triggers for those new habits. You want to connect those habits, the new practicing habit, with things you're already doing. So it's breakfast, it's dinner, and it's going to bed. The next really smart thing to do is to catch up during the weekend. So there are several things that you can be practicing that you should be practicing every day, mostly technical things, but things that have to do with memorization, visualization, and theory, you can practice them in big chunks of time during the weekend. So if you're practicing for 90 minutes during the usual days, during the weekend, you can add another 90 minutes, because you have a lot more time, I hope, to add those elements. This way, you're not really get left behind that much during the week that you only have 90 minutes to practice. One final and very important practice tip. It's very important to not waste time during those 90 minutes during your week to practice stuff that you can practice without having even your guitar in your hands. So for example, music theory, as I mentioned earlier, or ear training, or music listening. These are all things that you can practice them with just your cell phone and just listening or reading, even while you're doing your commute. Well, don't read while you're driving, but you can listen to ear training exercises and practice them while you're driving. Or you can listen to new music and to new songs while you're driving, instead of just listening to the news or a random radio show. So all these things are really going to help to really solidify and use all the 90 minutes of your schedule for things that you cannot do without a guitar. And those things that you can do without a guitar, you can do them during your commute or sometimes during the weekend. So there you have it, some basic practice optimization tips for people who work too many hours and they're very tired to practice properly, for several hours after they get back. So I hope this was helpful and it helped clarify a little bit things on this quite serious problem. And I will see you on the next episode of Ask the Guitar Coach. Until then, keep shredding and keep those questions coming. Bye bye.